Meeting of the Village of Cross Plains Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee for February 3rd, 2021. Roll call, please.
Committee member Henry.
Here.
Committee member Hillebrand. I didn't hear you, Tim.
You're on mute.
Still, I can see your lips moving, but you waves. Okay. Committee member Cutler.
Here.
Committee member Hicks. I don't have. And President Langfeld.
Here.
I think that's
all righty. Thank you. We'll go to public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes while the Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee encourages input from residents. It may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. Are people getting feedback? Because I'm hearing feedback. That could be
yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting feedback from that color. There you go.
All right. Do we have anybody on that's not on the committee here logged in? Bobby?
No.
Okay. So we will go to general business. The first one is a welcome and introduction. I just wanted to welcome everybody and say that I'm really excited about this committee. I think it's very different than probably any other committee around because of when we discuss our goals and objectives. But the reason I picked you for this committee, number one, is I know you care about the village. Every one of you have been proactive in getting involved in the village. So that was really important part of the selection process. You've also all demonstrated the ability to do research and to put that into reports, which is going to be very critical for this committee. And the other part is everybody here really has different views. I know from a number of topics that we've talked about that we've been on different sides of it. And I think for this type of committee, it's important to look at every issue from different angles, and that's what you all bring to the committee. So I'm extremely excited to work with this committee, and I have really high expectations that our work product is going to be extremely helpful to the village as a whole. So I thank you. What would be nice is if we can just shortly go around and introduce yourself and say a few words about yourself, whatever you'd like. No particular thing, just so if we can go around. And Bobby, when we do this, can you kind of control it, call on people so we don't get stepped on each other? So if you can just go around and call on each person, that'd be great.
Sure, I see Jed unmuted himself, so he can go first.
Figured you'd go in row of the roll call. Jed Henry, I moved to Cross Plains 2.5 years ago from Middleton. I own a small video production company here in town. I do a lot of network news, TV shows, video production type work. So I was interested in getting involved and kind of seeing where things go and seeing how we can help the village along.
Great. Deb, do you want to go next?
Sure. So my name is Deb Cutler. I've been in Cross Plains almost 18 years. I've been driving J-Nuts for about the last year on village board meetings. I'd like to see changes in the community and make things better for everyone. So here I am.
Thank you. Tim? I still can't hear Tim.
Hey, Tim, we still can't hear you. One option, I think if your mic is not working, you can call in on that phone number with the meeting ID.
So you can't hear me?
No, not Deb. Tim, Deb, we can hear you. We can't hear Tim.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Amalia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Amalia Hicks. I've lived in Cross Plains since 2017. Prior to that, we were renting in Middleton. And prior to that, I was in academia and lived all over the country, but I grew up in Milwaukee. My background is in astrophysics. I work on energy efficiency now, but mostly just kind of a nerd and good with numbers. So I'm guessing maybe that's why Jay invited me. I don't know. I did start to get involved with local politics and stay on top of what the board was doing, a couple of years ago. So I'm just really interested in serving Cross Plains and doing what I can to, make everybody happy here, make it a better place to live.
And then for anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Bobby Zahner. I'm the finance director and newly clerk here. I've worked here for almost 5 years. This is kind of a new thing for me, not running a committee, but running Zoom anyway. So hopefully, other than Tim, we're good tonight.
I'll just go here. So I think everyone knows
sorry,
me.
Bill.
Bill Chang, the village administrator. And I'm here primarily as a resource and a support. So feel free to lean on me. I'll be in and out of these meetings as they go, and will attend as necessary. But your staff liaison is Bobby, and then Jay as the chair of this committee until at least April. And I see that Tim has joined us via phone number.
Okay. So, Tim Hillebrand, can you hear me? Okay.
It's
there's a lot of
echoing.
going on.
Yeah, it's because he's got his phone and his computer on.
Let me do this.
How's that? There we go. Nope, still there. So
Maybe it's Deb's computer again.
Been in Cross Plains all my life, which has been a while, and background in public safety, police, fire, emergency management, EMS. So know a lot of history in the village and some of the things that have gone on and where we ended up where we did. But I would like to continue to, the rest of you, is work to make the village better and more financially responsible.
All right. Thank you very much. Oh. Did someone wanted to say something? Otherwise, we'll move on to number 2. That's discussion regarding goals and objectives for the committee. And as I've mentioned a little bit, the goals and objectives for this committee is basically researching and fact checking, and then doing presentations and reports on a number of topics, but they're always tied to finance. And then we would also, because we will be the experts on some of these topics, we'll also, if need be, do presentations to the public and do education to the public. It doesn't always have to be obviously in person, but we'll try to put together information not only for particularly maybe the board or committees or staff, but also the public. So this committee is very interesting in the sense that we don't necessarily, well, I guess it'll be under the structure, but I'm going to just talk, I'm trying to keep us neutral where we're fact finders, researchers on both sides. Not to say that once we do and get into this, we won't have opinions one way or the other. But when we express them, they should be outside of a committee member. So as a resident or a member of the board or a member of staff or another committee, the important thing is that we're viewed as neutral. So people feel comfortable with the information we're presenting is neutral. I think we'll lose influence if it looks like we have an objective and we're trying to sell a particular side of one of the topics that we talk about. So the real goal and objectives is to try to stay neutral and do the fact finding and the research on these. And then as a group, we'll decide, you know, where it goes. It may go to staff, it may go to the board, or it may go to a committee. But again, we're going to be the experts on this, so we'll have to follow through on that. So that, again, we can redefine it as we move forward, but those were kind of the main goals and objectives of this committee. You saw the attachment that had 12 things listed. That was kind of a collection. That doesn't mean that other things from this committee can't be placed on that list, but that is going to be, I wanted to have a starting spot. So we'll work through that a little bit later. But again, it's something that items will be continuing placed on that, and we'll continue to remove items off of that original list. But that's pretty much what we thought would be the goals and objectives of this committee. Are there any questions? And at least on that part, I think the structure and work product will make it a little clearer when we hit 3. All right, so then we'll move on to 3. And 3, the structure again is there's the group that is present tonight. As I mentioned, I'd like us to try to approach these topics in a neutral way and try to get all the facts, all the research that we can. Very little of the work will be done at this meeting. This meeting will be more used for updates and for presentations. And then we'll have discussions on how we move forward. So the idea was that we would get into small groups, which is basically 2. The reason we have to stay at 2 is if we went to 3, we would have a quorum, and then we'd have to do the open meetings law would make us have to post. And I think that would be really kind of a pain. I'm looking at these, you know, the work done outside is work product, so we don't have to worry about that. But we have to stay, you know, I was thinking of groups of 2, and a number of the topics, most of the topics, I can see easy divisions of, you know, how it could be split up, and then you just work with your partner on pulling everything together. But I think would be easy to divide some of these into 2. So that's what I was kind of looking at, and most of the work would be outside the committee. So it would give you some freedom to fill it into your busy schedule on when you can work on it. Some of these will be fairly easy, some will be fairly complicated. And then we'll just kind of monthly get together just to see where everybody's at. And if there's a group that would like to do a presentation, then we would do that, and then kind of have a discussion on that. And then we'd probably go from presentation to a written work product. And I'm not looking for, you know, a 5-10 page research paper. I'm looking at 1 to 2 pages that break down the basic, you know, information of the purpose or the need or the idea, and then justification and maybe some documentation that goes with that. and then probably the fiscal impact or what the savings could be, that type of idea. That's the idea. What do people feel? Do you think that's a workable idea or structure? Why don't we just go right along? If Bobby, you can just call people, that'd be great.
Sure. We'll start with Amalia.
Okay. So the goal is really to investigate items that could help to fund the village. Is that?
It's not just, yeah, it's definitely tied to finance, but not necessarily fund. If you looked at some of the topics, is maybe we just need to, the way we do business, there could be savings. There's obviously other ones in there that's a different revenue source.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be a tie to finance because it's a finance committee, but it's pretty broad on the topics, I guess.
Okay. And are we going to be able to kind of delve into the details of the overall budget, or is it sort of siloed into different mini ideas?
Well, we run into a little bit of conflict if we get into the actual budget, because that's more in the scope of the board. So, and that's I would say is more traditional finance committee. And back when I first was on the board, we had one similar to that. It didn't seem like it really was that effective because the board's got to go through it anyway. So I'm looking at items that the board really doesn't have time to investigate. And, you know, some people have brought some of them up that we talk about it and then it just fades away because no one grabs it and runs with it. So I'm hoping this committee will grab those items and run with it. I mean, that's the starting point. I mean, this thing can, you know, like I say, it's very, very new. So it could go in different directions, but right now I'm looking at focusing on items that we can educate and bring back that could be beneficial.
Okay. Yeah. And so part of it would be kind of researching maybe what other communities have done or things like
Correct.
that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
If you don't mind here, I can interject a little bit here, and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of these items will touch not necessarily the immediate budget, but down the road. So, for example, capital improvement plan. Taking a look at not only upcoming years, but years 2 through 5, and potentially beyond, and how that could impact the village's budget in the future. So it does have, I mean, it's got its impact on the budget, but not necessarily the decision making that's reserved for the village board in the immediate budget.
Okay, Deb, would you like to go next?
Only if you repeat the question, because I lost all audio at one point.
I guess what I'm asking is, do you think the structure and I guess your comments on the structure, is it workable to you, and the goals and objectives, just kind of your overview of what you feel so far on what you've heard.
Some research to figure out some of these things. I wouldn't mind seeing like the street light fee maybe expanded so that we could look at getting street lights that are solar, because even though that might be more expensive up front, it would be more sustainable, which would go with another theory of Cross Plains, plus just better for the environment.
I just threw those out. I think that would be something that certainly could be looked at as a cost analysis. That's part of that, because you're right. That one has a number of different factors, and that's what that could easily be broken out. But certainly, but I'd be honest with you, if we would definitely split them out once we got to discussion, because the solar we'd probably send to sustainability, since that's kind of their area. Well, when I describe those, you'll see they could go to a number of different spots after that. But certainly the areas can be expanded, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I would see that also leaf pickup going to the sustainability committee, since, you know, doing more composting in town, we have such a small village. Maybe if we continue with ATVs, it would be a great community activity to pick up all the waste, compost it all for the town, and save us all a lot of money. Can we get copies? One thing I always find difficult with each village board packet is I don't know what all those codes mean, and I can't find them on the website for blah, blah, blah numbers to see how the budget breaks down. Or is there a spot up for it on the website?
I thought our budget was on the website.
Yeah, I guess, what are you looking for? Are you the budget?
Well, yeah, the complete budget and what all the codes mean. You know, you see like account, let me pull it up on old. Each of the different account numbers for this is where these checks were written to, but I don't know what those accounts are. Like, is it public facilities and stuff?
Okay.
Well, can we just, I want to keep us to an hour. Can we just
worry about that later?
Yeah.
That would be great.
You know, that might be a good session as one of these sessions, as if Bobby can walk us through how to take a look at the budget and understand some more of the technical areas, just to give a background of the budgeting process and so that everyone's on the same page.
All right. Deb, did you have anything else, or it looks like you're muted? Tim, you want to take a shot there?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, we have the background though. Okay, I think it's a good idea what you're talking about. In the right direction. We may need some direction from the board as far as like the tax rate, water and sewer rates comparable to other municipalities. I know we used to have Marshall, Wisconsin as our comparable community, but I'm not sure if they're still by size and population and so forth. So those would be something we want to look at and make sure when we come back with information that it's comparable to our village, not comparable to somebody else that doesn't fit. That makes sense?
It does.
Anything else, Tim, or?
Oh, no, nothing else.
All right, Mr. Henry, you can go next, please.
I'm good with it. My only question is how many voting members do we have? Is it the 4 committee members and Jay?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, we're going to number 4. Does everybody have the list that's up on the screen here? We're going to do a little activity here. Going to give it a try here. We're going to do a modified nominal group technique on this. And basically what I'm going to go through and kind of give a quick highlight of each of the 12 items that are listed there. I'd like you to pick out 5 of them you may have an interest in. And once you have the 5, I want you to give the number 1 that you'd like to look into or be part of, a 5, and then the second one, a 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll go around and collect that information from everybody, and that'll show us not only the number of votes per each one, but it'll also give an idea of the strength on how important it is. So, and I know this is for people who have done this in the past, this is a very modified use of it, but I thought it would be something we could quickly do instead of me just picking out things. So there's 12 items. I'll walk everybody through these and just give a quick summary, and then kind of just think of which ones you'd be like to look at. And this is just a jump off, a starting point. So the first one is streetlight fee and own versus rent. So this came from, we had a small committee put together on a streetlight policy. Part of that, we saw that there was a big difference in billing for each street light that's in the village. If we own it, the maintenance fee is $1 a month. If MG&E owns the light, they charge $12.45 a month for maintenance. So there's a big difference in that. But of course, you know, there's the difference is if the light gets damaged or something happens to it, if it's our light, we have to replace it. The street lights run about $450 to $600 depending on what we have. So there's going to be a need to do an analysis on that, on if it's worth investing, because then the turnaround's about 3 years. But we need to, I think it looks like there needs to be a look into that, and also check to make sure that all the lights that the village owns, we're getting credit for that. The other part of that is there's a conference coming up from the League of Municipalities, and I saw that Baraboo has a street light fee. And I'm really not sure what that is, but I'd be curious to see what they're doing and if it's something that might be applicable to the village. So that's what that one is. Leaf pickup. Every fall, I end up receiving phone calls and emails of people asking if we could do some type of leaf pickup, because they don't have the vehicle and our senior population doesn't have the means to get the leaves down to the village site. So my thought on that is looking at, because I've also talked to a couple people who work by the drop site, and they say that village staff does spend a great deal of time loading the leaves onto trucks and driving them. And it's like 3 people all day. I don't know how many days they do it. So the thought there would be looking at what the cost the village is putting into managing the leaves that are dropped down, and potentially seeing if there's a private company that would come through maybe 3-4 times in the fall and pick up leaves right at curbside. So that would be where that is coming from. The next one is salary wage comparison, and that is going to be, you're going to see that with numbers. This one would be straightforward. I would say that we might want to hold off since I've put that on. It looks like Cambridge is going to do something very similar for their village. And we've kind of worked out the deal. If we fill out the form and information and give it to them, they are willing to give us their final report. So I just want to put that out. But if that doesn't happen, that's something we should do. I think the last time we did it was probably 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago. So that's what that would be.
Does that mean wages for village employees, or wages across the population?
No, it would be
okay.
the salaries that we're paying for our employees.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. The next one is the wheel tax. I looked a little bit into this about 18 months ago. It's something that state statute allows us to do. We have not chosen to do it. The county has done it. City of Madison has done it. A number of communities, even communities our size, have done it. I kind of looked a little bit into it. 18 months ago, you can go on the state site, and we had 4,007 vehicles registered in Cross Plains. So you look at a simple math of $10, for a wheel tax, that would bring in 40,000. That's almost exactly what we budgeted for road maintenance this year. So again, there's really some pros and cons to a wheel tax. So I think that needs to be, dug into and looked at, and maybe called a few of these communities to see what kind of feedback they got.
Would that include, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Would that include recreational vehicles that use our roads?
The state statute defines what wheels you can actually tax, and I don't remember all of them. The one I do remember, because I have one, is vehicles with collector plates do not get charged the $10 because you pay a one-time fee for a collector plate. So that one I know is not in there.
Sorry to interrupt, but ATVs and UTVs do not get charged wheel tax, since their license plate fees go to the DNR and not through the Department of Transportation. I checked in that a long time ago.
Okay. So that's what that one is. Transportation utility fee, that's a fairly new one through state statute. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that town of Middleton, within the last 3-4 months, had it in front of their board. They voted no to it. But I know Baraboo, again, at this conference, they have it, and they're gonna do a discussion on it. So there are some places that are using it. It's tied to lots. So the timing for us might be good. I know one of the articles I did read on it is that they really said that you should not use it for the cost of cleaning streets or snow removal of streets. And I don't remember why. I just remember that sticking in my head, that the lawyers saying do not use it for that reason. But that's something we can look in. There's quite a few articles recently written on that. I think that's a fairly new fee. So then we get down to compare tax rates to other municipalities. I think that's pretty straight, just to see where we are on that. Compare water rates to other municipalities. This one is probably one of the most asked questions of me, is why our water rates are really high. I can't tell you if they're really, really high or not, but so we would have, I would think on this is twofold. One is to look to see what other municipalities' rate is, and then a dive into our water enterprising account to see what we're actually placed into that to pay for. Because I have to believe the water's costing everybody the same, and we don't have debt service or much debt service on this right now. I think this should be done sooner and later, because when well 3 comes online, we're just going to complicate it, because then there will be a large debt service on that. So it'd be nice to get on that, just to see what's included in our water rates, and then compare it to other municipalities. And then it's kind of the same thing with the sewer rates, would be similar to all 3 of those, are kind of in the same category. And then the lease versus buy equipment. There are some equipment that we end up leasing. There's some equipment we end up buying. There's some equipment that we buy, keep it for a short term, trade it in and get a new one and, you know, pay the difference. So that one is not really that well defined. I think we'd have to do a little bit more and get a little bit more detail on it, because I think you need to have the example to actually dive into it to make sense. Sidewalk replacement policy. This is something we do not have right now. Basically our policy is that the village replaces all sidewalk at village cost. Myself and I know other trustees have mentioned, because we're putting in all new developments have sidewalks and stuff, at some point it's going to be very, very expensive. I know a lot of other places it's prorated, so that's something we should really look at. I'd like to get ahead of this before it becomes a huge dollar amount, because we're putting in more and more miles of sidewalk. So I think that's something we should be really looking at. Not so much that I see it being used right now, but certainly in the future. And then we have some financial policies, and this includes how much we'll have in fund balances, how we invest. I think there's 3 of them, if I'm correct, right now that we passed earlier. 5? 4?
I think there's 5 total. 3 were
Okay,
new.
Okay. So it'd be just, again, where I think it's important for us to review and make sure things stay up to date on that. And then the last item is just basically looking, and we're using to start with flex spending benefit, because obviously trying to find the best vendor for the best price is something we should always be doing, because things change so quickly. So are there any questions on any of these items?
Can you explain a little bit about what the flex spending benefit is?
That's, well, Bobby, you want to take it? Go ahead.
Sure. So it's for medical and dependent care. It's a benefit we offer to employees where they can take money out pre-tax to put into like an escrow type thing.
Okay. Okay.
So it's just, we only have a handful of employees that use this benefit. And I just felt like our administrative costs we pay to our company seemed high for such a small amount of people. So I didn't know if I was looking for if anyone had experience with other companies, or kind of what we were thinking, see if we could save a little bit of money there.
That makes sense. Thanks.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have one with the lease versus buy equipment. I remember at a village board meeting, Jerry saying that he was looking to buy a piece of equipment that he's been just borrowing his own. But since he's getting closer to retirement, he's been starting to purchase those items. Do we know how many items we've just been borrowing from Jerry for all these years?
I'm not, I know we were borrowing, I didn't think it was from Jerry, Cherry Picker, and we had budgeted to do that. The lease buy one is really, and if I mix the terms, is a big front end loader. And every 2 years we trade that in and buy a new one. And there's always, like this year was like 14,000 difference on that versus keeping it to the end versus leasing it. Those would be, but I don't have a list of that. We can check with Jerry on what we use of his equipment, but I don't think it's very many, if any, anymore. That's just my guess.
At the time he mentioned a trailer, so.
Yeah, and we can. Go ahead, Deb.
That's all. That I just figure plan ahead since at some point I assume he's retiring.
No, I think you're absolutely right on that. All right. Any other questions on any of these items? So, okay.
Sorry. I guess I just had a couple of questions about, like, you know, eventually adding to this list. I know there are a couple of financial items that have come up in conversations that Deb and I have had. One of them was what we're renting the pool to Middleton for. It seemed like pretty low. I don't know if that's something that's just a pandemic situation, or if we might want to research, you know, that fee in other locations.
Well, we can do that, but I'm not sure we didn't rent to Middleton, my understanding. We ended up
I can chime in if you want, being on the Parks Commission. We rent to the swim clubs.
Yep.
And they have it for a certain time frame. And my understanding, what my recollection from our meetings is that the fees are in line with what neighboring communities are charging.
Okay, cool. I thought it was like $50 an hour, and I just thought, well, I'll rent it.
Yeah, I think part of that is they supply their own lifeguards, so we don't have those fees.
Okay.
And you also have to remember, we have like a 60-year-old pool.
Yeah.
And if I just want to, that is probably not going to be an ongoing. That is clearly related to COVID-19. They weren't able to get into their regular pools that they usually use, because they usually use the indoor pools year round, and they weren't able to do that. So we were one of the pools that were open. So I'm not sure that's going to be an ongoing opportunity for us.
And I think the other one that I've heard Deb mention is maybe cell phone contracts. Does that ring a bell, Deb?
Yeah, they're kind of pricey, the ones that seems the village is using. I mean, personally, I just dropped US Cellular to Google Fi just to save half the amount.
I don't have we can throw that as number 13 if you want to look at
Lucky 13.
Cell phone plans. I don't mind adding that if people want to add that to their list, but I would.
My opinion is, you know, reviewing all the little things is always good, because, you know, if you save $80 here and $80 there, that all adds up pretty quick. And it's always a good thing to review. Personally, I do it like once a year, but I don't know how often a government would.
I think the issue you'll run into with cell phones is there's only 2 companies that provide reliable service in this area, which is going to be Verizon and AT&T, and both of those are on the more expensive side. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, and that's something we can look at. Let's put that on. Are there any other questions? Because you're going to have an opportunity every quarter to build this list up. We're going to kind of redo this, you know, quarterly updated and stuff. So that's always out there for members, and it'll be for trustees, for everybody to use, you know, to do. So we have 13 now on the list. So look at the list. I'm going to give you about, let's see, it's 6:43. Let's, can I do like 3-4 minutes? We'll start at, in 3-4 minutes. So pick 5 you'd like to do, and then rank them, 5 being, you know, your number 1, and 1 being the 5th on that list. Give you a little bit of time, and then we'll go around and collect. I will write down the numbers, and Bobby will go through, call on each of you.
Or should we put them in the chat maybe? Would that make it easier?
Some of us don't know how to do that. So
yeah, I was going to suggest chat too. I thought that was a good.
And I think this way everybody can hear. And if Bobby, if you can start with me when you do this, because I had a little head start, so I have mine done.
I've got mine done too. So if you want to go through ours while everybody else is looking, although I don't want to influence other people.
No, I don't think that. I'm pretty sure this group is pretty independent. I don't think we're going to persuade anybody. So I will start. I placed number 5 on compare rates to other municipalities.
Which rates?
Tax rates. I'm sorry, didn't I say that?
We just said rates.
Oh, I'm sorry. Compare tax rates to other municipalities. My number 4 is wheel tax. My number 3 is streetlight fee and own versus rent. My number 2 is compare water rates to other municipalities. And my 1 is transportation utility fee. All right. Jed, you want to go next?
Sure. My most important one was review financial policies. Next important, compare tax rate. Next one, compare water rates. Next one, compare sewer rates. And lastly, sidewalk replacement policy.
Okay. Is there someone else ready? Tim?
I am.
Oh, all right. Why don't you go ahead, Deb?
Top of the list is wheel tax. Then review financial policies, compare tax rates to other municipalities, then leaf pickup, and then the streetlight fee, own versus rent, which you could throw that underneath, you know, the lease versus buy equipment and just combine the two.
No, let's keep them separate just because that's how we have it. I don't want to confuse. All right, Tim? I can't hear you.
How about now?
Yep.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so number 5 would be lease versus buy. Number 4 is lease pickup. Number 3 is salary wage comparison. Number 2 is financial policies. And number 1, I wasn't sure, I have water sewer. I guess I thought they would be one because they're coming one bill, but I'm not sure. I'd say
Pick
water.
which one you, no, we really got to keep them separate or people are going to get confused because the financing and everything. Which one would you like, water or sewer?
The water.
Okay. Okay, now I forgot who. Have you been keeping?
Hey, Amalia.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Amalia.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go with first choice is leaf pickup, and then sidewalk replacement policy, I guess. Then wheel tax, streetlight fee, and compare tax rates. Or those two can be interchangeable, really.
Okay. All right. I think we hit everybody, did we?
Yep.
Okay. So what I have is for streetlight fee, if people want to record this, it'll be in the minutes. I have a total of 3 votes and a total of 6 points. Leaf pickup is 3 votes and 11 points. Wage comparison, I have 1 vote, 3. For wheel tax, I have 3 votes and 12 points. Transportation fee, I have 1 vote, 1 point. For compare tax rates to other municipalities, I have 4 votes and 13. Compare water rates to other municipalities, I have 3 votes and 6 points. Sewer rates, I have 1 vote, 2 points. Lease versus buy equipment, I have 1 vote with 5 points. Sidewalk, I have 2 votes with 5 points. Policy, financial policy review, I have 3 votes, 11. And then that's what I have. Does that Bobby, I don't know if you're recording, but
I guess I just wrote down everybody's
okay.
list. Yeah.
So looking at this, I would say our top ones on a combination of the two would be leaf pickup, because that's 3 and 11. Compare tax rates is 4 and 13. And then review financial policies, 3 and 11. So here's what I'm thinking. I think review policy, financial policy, that's seems like that's a real interest. Why don't we plan, since there's 5 of them, why don't we plan on doing 2 for the next 3 meetings? So we will spend, what Bobby can do is send out the first 2. You will review them. We can discuss them at the next meeting, and then we'll just keep going that way. Does that sound good to everybody? Because it's really not something I think we need to break out and do a lot of research on. I think there'll be questions, and we may need to do research after we discuss them, but I'm not sure because it's a review process that there's much fact checking or research. Are people comfortable with that?
Yes.
Which ones are we doing?
We're gonna just, the only thing we've decided is we're gonna do we're gonna review the financial policies over the next 3 meetings. We're gonna do 2 at each meeting. And we'll do that as a group.
Okay.
So then that would give us, I think, the next one would be the tax rates comparison. And we have leaf pickup. I'm just going to try to do the top 3 and then we have kind of we've got a tie. We have 2 of them that are 3 votes with 6 points, and that would be the street light topic and the water rates comparison.
What about the wheel tax? I thought from what you said.
Wheel tax ended up with, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yep, you're correct. That was 3 and 12. Yep. No, that.
I think I've got 4 that came kind of to the top, right? Which is tax rates, wheel tax, leaf pickup, and financial policy.
Right. And I'm trying, okay, why don't we go with that? The financial policy, we're going to do it as a group, 2 at a time. Right? So then that leaves us the next 3. So tax rate, leaf pickup, and wheel tax. Okay, so I will be willing, because we're going to do groups of 2. So I can go on 2 of them, right? Because we would need 6 people and we only have 5. Oh, the one thing I do want to say on these, when we do need information from staff, if you could go through Bobby as our staff person, and so Jerry's not getting 3 emails from us or the chief. So if you need something from village staff, if you could go through Bobby, that would be the contact person. That way she may have the answer right for you, or she'll be able to get it from staff. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
All right. Do I have people with I didn't keep track of who voted for what. Can I say who has, with those 3 now, we're looking at tax rate comparison, leaf pickup, and wheel tax. What is the flavor for individuals on what they would like to work on?
I'd like tax rates.
Okay.
Wheel tax, please.
Was that Deb that said that?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll go leaf pickup.
Okay.
Tim's on a leaf pickup as well.
Okay. All right. So then I will work with Jed on tax rate comparisons and Deb on the wheel tax. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and the thing is, we got to make sure that we stay in our small groups, because if we end up going to 3, that's a walking quorum and we can get into trouble with that. So let's stay. And if there's something you need from someone else, why don't we work it through Bobby? I don't see how these would really fall into it, but I just want to make sure we have a good understanding of how we can work through this without getting into trouble.
Jay, would you put out a email list of all the members? Would
Yes.
emailing me work out as well?
Yes, I can do that. I will put out an email with this. Everybody comfortable?
Yep.
Yes.
I think so.
All right. The last thing we have to take care of is meeting time period. So does the first Wednesday of the month work out for people at 6 o'clock, or is this not good?
Dates are
Fine for me.
I'm a single mom with a 9-year-old and 11-year-old. There's no good time.
Okay.
No good time.
but are we okay to put this into the system that it's the first Wednesday at 6 o'clock we'll meet?
It works.
Yeah.
All right. So we have that settled. Great. So unless anybody has anything they want to add, we can certainly adjourn. And I certainly appreciate everybody willing to do this. I'm really super excited about this.
Jay, did you want to just keep these strictly Zoom meetings for now, or what was your flavor on that?
Well, I guess my preference would be to have in person, but I understand what's going on and I am not going to force anybody. I say we can do Zoom, hopefully by the March meeting, maybe. I mean, not the April meeting. It'll be very different. I think it's going to be potentially hard to do presentations over Zoom, but I'm not a big fan of it. But like I say, it is the times, and we'll always have that as an option. But I like to write things on whiteboards and actually see people. It's the discussion. I think you lose on discussion when you're in Zoom, but you also have to be more disciplined, I guess. So you can read it either way. But right now, the next meeting will be Zoom. Let's just plan on that. Okay. And I guess we'll, at committee level, at your small groups, depending where you're at, if you have material you'd like to present, please get it to Bobby so she can put it into the packet. So we have some time to look at it. And then we'll just update and give presentations.
What needs to be done before next meeting?
Well, I would say the next meeting for sure, you'll be receiving, and Bobby, if you can send them out, will be 2 financial policies she'll send out. So we'll for sure review that. I don't know where, I'm thinking maybe Deb and I would have the wheel tax done by then. I mean, it's not like it's that complicated. And the nice thing is, because Dane County has it, they list all the other jurisdictions, how many vehicles they have. There's a lot of data out there. So I think this is more of looking at the pros and cons in the sense of, do you take something off? Is this a regressive tax or is this a user tax? I mean, there's those things we'd have to look at, but if at least an update. I guess if we're not ready, I'm not going to put deadlines on it, but if the leaf pickup, you're able to, get an analysis of how much it's costing the village now. And there's some company out there that does that, comes around 3-4 times in the fall to pick up leaves from, contract service, then you can present that. I don't know how involved these are going to get. So for sure, we'll review the 2 policies and for sure we'll do a minimum of updates on these 3 topics.
Where would we find out how much the village spends on the leaves? Is that
Well,
something
I think I think that would be seeing how many employees for how many hours are tasked with the removal of the leaves, and maybe the cost of the dumping of the leaves, have that, and then compare it to what a contractor would charge. That's, I guess
right,
that's
yeah, but where do those numbers live? Is there a phone number I should call, or?
I think you can get Bobby. I think Bobby will have to talk to Jerry on how many times or how often a week they do that, and then their hourly salary, and do the calculation that way. Bobby could probably pull that information, and then you could look at it.
That'd be great. Yeah, whenever you have a chance, Bobby. No rush.
Sure, I'll email Jerry tomorrow and start getting some initial information for you.
Perfect, thank you.
So would those numbers include benefits? I mean, so sure, we can know that's $20 an hour, that's easy to figure out, but there's an added cost that we pay for employees. So if we were trying to compare apples to apples,
yeah, like their loaded rates.
Equipment cost, yeah.
Yeah, but don't think. Yeah, I know, but see, I mean, we'll get into this discussion, but see, to me, benefits you're going to pay no matter what tasks they're doing. But you know, my suggestion was to do it with benefits and without benefits.
Yeah, there you go.
Bobby, this is Bill. For that information request, you may want to find out what the usage on equipment is too.
Oh.
And then take the federal or state rate for the usage of equipment. There are those schedules out there, because that's all applied to.
Can I get Bill on my committee?
Yeah. Well, they're resources.
I know.
I'm here as a resource for any of the subcommittees, and you know, and Bobby knows this, and she can definitely utilize me to help her obtain some of this information.
One thing I want to do is, I have family in Middleton, and they were explaining to me how Bruce and Company will do things for the city of Middleton, like, I'm not sure if it's picking up leaves, but definitely trees that are taken down, so Bruce and Company gets paid for that. Then they use that wood to turn into wood chips, which they then sell back to, you know, the Middleton community. So that may be one resource to look at.
But
I was almost thinking
this is exactly what we want to do, but I don't want to put any pressure on people. We want to move these things forward, but I'm not going to set deadlines for each of these.
And just so going into it, it may help to set a framework for your study, because a lot of these items, they stem and they branch out to a lot of information, and you can potentially overwhelm yourself very quickly. So I would suggest, for what it's worth, to keep it narrow, and then if you do find something interesting, have that be a separate study.
Sounds good. And that's why we'll do this every quarter. All right. Thank you. I will be getting in touch with Jed and Deb shortly in the next couple of days, and we'll kind of break out what parts we want to look at. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the same. Thank you, and have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks all. Bye.
Night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.
Okay.
Can't get out.